Nothing. Just chilling. Killing.
Well, what's going on, guys? This is a breakdown of the PTB version of Ghostface and my thoughts and what I'd like to see happen with the character on June 18th and beyond. We're going to go into some backstory here. So it starts with Danny Johnson, known as Jed Olson by some, grabbing a newspaper from his kitchen counter. It was only a week old, but the face on the front page was grainy and sunken. It was one of those muggy afternoons in Florida when the heat and humidity permeated everything in the kitchen, making his chair sweat while he's standing still. He slouched in a damn chair to read. The article better be good. His work in Roseville had been outstanding. And Ghostface disappears June 18th, 1993. At first glance, Jed Olson was a modest and enthusiastic freelancer with experience in a variety of small newspapers. The staff at the Roseville Gazette appreciated how easygoing and honest he seemed, and was treated like a stranger for no more than 5 minutes into his interview. Jed quickly spotted the editor-in-chief in the room, gave him a wide smile and a firm handshake, and talked about good old American values. And that was it. He was in, says an ex-contributor at the Roseville Gazette. Olson never justified his erratic career path, which zigzagged between several small towns from Utah to Pennsylvania. There was no verification of his previous jobs. He had a decent portfolio, plus had a good attitude, and they needed a contributor right away. The Roseville Murders. Olson had been working at the newspaper for 5 months when the Roseville Murders began. Victims from young to old stabbed to death in their homes. From the reports, the victims seemed chosen at random. Yet the killer knew his way around the houses. The multiple stab wounds indicated a personal motive. No traces of DNA were found. The local police were confounded. The murderers were carried with a fury akin to a crime of passion, yet coldly premeditated. The murderer also liked to stalk his targets. One of his victims had been following on the path home by a dark figure a few days prior to their death. The killer would follow them from the Walleyes, small bar in northern Roseville, and snap pictures of them at home while looking for a way in. He could watch the same victim for weeks, meticulously registering their habits and routines. When he felt the urge to kill, he'd revisit most of the vulnerable victims on his list and break inside their houses quietly. Well, if you guys want to read the rest, I'll leave it in the comments below. Let's get into this Night Shroud. This is important. This is his power. So, the Ghostface is used to study his victims for weeks, meticulously registering their habits. Yes. So what we do is we press the power button to activate the Night Shroud when the power gauge is full. And when it's active, the Ghostface has no terror radius. Performing his basic attack will deplete the power and deactivate the shroud. And survivors within close proximity to Ghostface can detect him by looking in a direction for a short duration. Now that is very important to note. We will note that. But he also has a crouching ability similar, and also has the pig properties, but it's a little bit better. You can teabag at least. So let's go to his perks. I'm all ears. Thrilling Tremors and Furtive Chase. Now out of these three, Thrilling Tremors seems to be decent, but I don't know if it's the best. After you pick up a survivor, generators not being prepared or blocked by the entity, so you can try to slow down the game in some sense. It's actually alright, it's pretty good. But Furtive Chase, that's the one. I think so. You become obsessed with a survivor. You lurk in the shadows, eliminating your victims one by one. When the obsession's hooked, you receive a token, and it reduces your terror radius. Now, we're gonna see if that one actually plays out to be useful for some like insta-down killers. Perhaps. I think so. But yeah, I mean, if you go over her Ghostface space speed, it's standard, 4.6 meters per second, with a 32 meter terror radius, similar to Tum Tums and, some of the other killers as well. But, Myers is the only killer with a 6 meter terror radius from start because of his evil 1 meter. But yet still, I think as Ghostface, your terror radius should be lower. I think they should lower that, especially if they're gonna keep the the Dark Shroud with being visible to a survivor, if that's gonna still remain the same once the patch is sent out and Ghostface is live. But here we go. We're going through some gameplay. This was my first match as Ghostface, and just getting a feel of his movement and how to anticipate any survivors is really something of a learning curve. I would say this might be one of the hardest killers to use right now in the game. If you're playing against a group of skilled survivors, veterans, you're gonna have a really interesting experience playing as Ghostface. You might as well, if you're looking for that stalking and expose pressure, you might as well just pick Myers. Now, I didn't have access to all of the perks. I didn't play any Kill Your Friends for this night. While the PTB is still on, I'm gonna make another vid, and I'll make sure to post that as well. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so when I make that next vid. But thinking about what this character means to the world of Dead by Daylight, I was expecting perhaps even a locker aspect to this character, hiding in lockers, maybe even teleporting in the lockers. I mean, if the Hag can teleport, this would have been a fantastic opportunity to have a jump scare killer coming out of the lockers. They even showed, during the 3-year anniversary, there was the locker, stage design with Ghostface that was actually in it. And then, it's not in the game. Now, maybe in 2 weeks, that'll be incorporated into his gameplay, and the design will be shown at a later date, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be initially on release. So, if anybody was expecting, something truly separating him from Myers in that regard, they're going to be a little disappointed, at least at initially at release. There's always room for in the future, and even if there's some really great YouTubers out there, Fog Whispers, that suggest that maybe the Scream license might find its way, months down the road. But the peeking and the hiding mechanics are they're all really fun, and Ghostface can crouch, so it's like, maybe I just use Ghostface as a utility character, or we just have a Mori character for Mori Mondays. I'm not really sure where they're gonna fit in the tier of killers. Nurse, Billy, it's gonna knock any of those two off. I doubt.
Yo.
Hello, shorty. What are you doing?
Nothing. Sitting here watching the game, smoking some bud.
It's...
Are you all alone? What's up? What's up? Who's that?
Yo, pick up the phone.
What's up? What's up?
Yo, Duque, pick up the phone.
Yo. Prime for a killer to be lurking inside to do a jump out, similar to Head On, the way Jane's perks were when she was released. There could be some counterplay to that. There could be some offense for the, survivor and the killers, during chases or during stalks. I'm going to keep going back to that topic because I really feel like that's the one that would really truly separate this killer from all the rest in the game currently. So, I'm still able to, put pressure on with just simple mouse 1 pressure. So, the ability of Ghostface, I haven't been able, with survivors that have awareness and they have understanding of map presence, I haven't been able to really expose them. And if I were to expose them, it would be extremely difficult to capitalize off of that expose. And especially with even certain perks completely the ability of the Dark Shroud, using Object of Obsession, totally negating everything, just shutting it down, and then teabagging for my efforts. So getting on the phone here, making long distance phone calls, trying to figure out what we can do to fix some of these potential game breaking counterplays to the Ghostface early on in the game. I really want this killer to be feared, and I want it to really have a great initial jump start into the summer. We'll see. For right now, I have had limited play because of the PTB. I think it took me about 15 maybe minutes or more for each game that you guys are seeing right now. So I'm going to try to bring some more Ghostface gameplay and try to find some counterplay as well. So, for the meantime, we're just going to have to take everything at a face value with it being a beta, and hope that the values for the Dark Shroud and the visibility for the survivors goes down. I think that would be, without the addition of add-ons, I think that would be a good start to give some of the stalk and some of the crouching ability, some meaning. Because right now, the pig can lunge out of her crouch. Ghostface can't really lunge out of his. He does once he has the blade. Once it's up, he does move at regular base speed. So you can catch up, and you can make contact with survivors. Just closing the gap and not getting looped. That's just going to be, I think that's going to be the meta between a good survivor that can escape and one that just doesn't understand the layers upon layers of looping that a good survivor squad has. These guys here, still within one gen, and getting that second hook, trying to put pressure on towards the end of the game. It's still possible, I think, but I feel like Ghostface is going to be really good against the higher ranks, and the lower ranks he's just not going to be used, at least for right now.
What's up?
See, but then you get maybe once per game you could try to get an expose, and you can try to make something happen out of this perk. So you're looking here, and I'm able to close the gap and actually get the down right in the exit, which is probably the best play that I've had so far with Ghostface. What I was thinking is not just with the locker aspect, but if the more, similar to like a Devour Hope or something, the more times you're hit by it, Ghostface, or the more times you're stalked, or the more times he's in your area, like something happens to where the Dark Shroud gains power, and you have a harder time to get a visual on where he is, even if he is in your proximity. It's like, for right now, it's super you know, it's without, there's no real difficulty for survivors to get out of the stalking expose. So thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.